When I was about 7 or 8. I got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. My best friend lived next door to me, and we saved our allowances and went and bought Ocarina of Time. We slept over at my house and played it every weekend and always talked about getting real ocarinas and playing them. Then we grew up. About 2 years ago he was diagnosed with leukemia and was hospitalized and everything. The doctor said since it was so progressed, he only had a few months to live. I went out and bought an ocarina for him. But when I brought it to him, the only song we could figure out was the Song of Storms, which we both thought was gay as hell. He died a month later. I went to his funeral and couldn't hold it together. I was sobbing like I never had before. His parents gave me the ocarina back, saying it probably meant more to me than them. When I got home, I sat on my front porch and cried my eyes out. Holding that fucking worthless ocarina, I started playing the Song of Storms. I stopped when I realized how stupid it was. After sitting there a few more minutes, I heard thunder. It started to rain.
You sit on your front porch, watching the street light across the street. It flickers once. It's 3:42 a.m. and you just realize that even though your family loves you, the only thing you need is someone to care for, some to love. So you sit on your front porch, watching the light. You might smoke a cigarette or two, but you don't really need them. You watch the tree near the streetlight sway in the wind, scared of life. You might have had a girl in your life once, but it soured and went wrong. It might have been your fault, but odds are that it wasn't. Odds are is that she dumped you because being with you made her depressed. Then you realize that you just lost a great chance to change your life around. So you sit outside on your front porch. You watch the street light across the street. You might shed a tear or two, but this isn't a physical sadness that can be purged. This is a soul-crushing black abyss kind of sadness. And you are scared and alone, and all you want is someone to look at you and say, "Everything will be okay. Come with me." Instead, you sit on your front porch. You watch the street light. And you die inside. Good night, B.
Me. Be 5 years old. Both Dad and I love cars. We both want to get this Porsche, something Hess wanted since he was a kid. He saves up money. I draw a picture of him and I with the Porsche. My mom calls my dad. I soon start hearing them fight. I ignore it and keep drawing until I doze off to sleep. Next morning I find my drawing in the trash and ripped to pieces. Mom tells me Dad didn't like it. I start crying. 2 months later Mom and Dad get a divorce. My dad keeps the house and isn't allowed to see me. I move into a new house and I get a new dad. 12 years pass. 17 years old. Find out Dad dies from heart problems. I don't care. Go to his funeral, don't shed a single tear. 2 weeks later we go to his house to get his belongings. I head toward the garage. Inside was the same exact Porsche him and I wanted. Untouched and covered in dust. Decided to inspect it. Look at the glove compartment. It's the picture with all the pieces expertly taped together. It turns out my mom ripped it and he went through the trash to get all the pieces to tape it back together. I start crying my eyes out. I don't talk to my mom anymore. I still own the Porsche and I plan to never sell it. I finally was able to go to my dad's grave. My mom didn't leave any flowers. I clean his gravestone and just started tearing up. Ever since his death I haven't been happy, I've just been angry and sad.
Birthday. Tell family I don't want to do anything special. They know I hate being the center of attention and flounder badly in social situations of any kind. Force me to go out for dinner with them. Go to restaurant. 8 family members in total including me. Everyone talks among themselves animatedly during the meal. Nobody talks to me during the meal despite the occasion ostensibly being my birthday. Sit quietly and eat my meal. Feel uncomfortable that I am so obviously not fitting inches. Mother and stepdad fighting and being passive-aggressive to each other. Mother drinking too much. Meal nearly finished up. Happy that I'll be able to go home soon. Suddenly our waiter appears. He's carrying a cake. Whole restaurant's wait staff is accompanying him singing happy birthday. Rest of the restaurant all look around and some tables join in, looking at me and singing. He puts the cake down in front of me. It's a custom-made cake that my mother has requested be made for me. Cake is adorned with a lone, glum, pale figure hunched over an inedible plastic computer meant to represent me. Drunk mother laughing heartily. Try my best to put on a smile so as not to appear rude. Everyone takes pictures of the cake next to me. Family forces me to cut the cake. They laugh at me for cutting the cake weird. Haha, look at how he cuts the cake. Me lens. Go home. Pick related, it's the cake.
Best friend loses his entire family in a car accident. 2 dogs, brother and mom and dad. Already depressed as fuck because his GF had been cheating on him and dumped him. Lost his job a month earlier. Go over to his house a few days after the incident with alcohol in the movie. Friends were coming over later to try and cheer him up. Knocked and walked in, as per usual. Couldn't find him anywhere. Weird, he's usually chilling in the living room playing Xbox, and his truck is in the driveway. Hear bang upstairs. Run upstairs, start frantically searching rooms. Find him in his parents' room, on their bed. He had shot himself in the chest, blood everywhere, wheezing and making the sickest sounds I've ever heard. Fuck. Pick him up, firemen carry him to my truck, and put him in the passenger's seat. He slumps over and blood is getting everywhere. I don't give a fuck, we gots to go. Drive faster than Dale Earnhardt, gotta get to the hospital. Blazing down the freeway at 110, weaving in and out of traffic. Cop car lights up and chases me. Fuck that shit. Make it to the hospital, open up door, run around to the other side, drag friend out of truck, and towards hospital doors. Cops have a heart, one of them helps me carry him, other runs inside to get help. We get inside, I'm freaking the fuck out screaming help somebody help fuck. Nurses roll out a gurney, or whatever, put him on, and take him away. I fall to my knees in a pool of my best friend's blood. One of the cops picks me up and hugs the shit out of me.
Be me. About 10 years old when my mother gives me the death talk. Cryptic.jpg 4 years pass and my mom is hospitalized. Turns out she has had cancer since I was 8. Go every day to see mom, she's weak but cheery. 2 years pass and my dad looks like he's aged 20 years and lost a lot of weight. Mom hasn't gotten better. Get a job to help at the market next door. Still see mom every day and watch her go downhill. Dad eventually says he can't stand to see her like that anymore and stops seeing her there. Still takes me to see her. Another year passes and now she sleeps more often than not and doesn't realize people are there. She is hooked up to so many machines it's hard to get close to her. Notice she has something in her hand she clutches when sleeping. One day when I come in to see her, she wakes up and gestures me closer. She holds out her hand and gives me what she was holding. "Your father promised," was all she said before falling back to sleep. Look in my hand. It's a small black tape for an old camcorder we had when I was a kid. Take it to dad and tell him what mom said. Dad hugs me and breaks down. Can't handle my feels. Next day dad visits my mom, kisses her forehead and whispers to her forever. Calls the nurse in, hands her a flash drive, and tells me it's time to go. I tell my mom I'll be back tomorrow. Dad cries the whole way home. I ask what he gave the nurse. Dad doesn't answer. Get home, dad tells me to sit with him in his home office. Dad pulls out another flash drive and points his screen to me. The background is of my mom holding me as a baby. Dad opens file on the drive titled Promise. It's my mom on the screen from before she was hospitalized. States her will and that if she is needed to stay on life support, we shouldn't let her suffer. Calls my dad on screen. Dad Earl breaks down again. Mom makes my dad promise to give the order to pull the plug. I lose my shit. Drive to the hospital. Dad filled out the paperwork to pull the plug before coming into the room to see her. Receptionist tells me nobody is in my mom's room. I'm too late. I drive back home and dad tells me there's more. Detailed plans were made to turn my mom's ashes into a vinyl. Finish watching the video, mom starts singing. I fucking can't. Another year passes and my mother's vinyl is in my dad's home office. Never listened to it. 20 years pass and I've begun living my life. I own the store I worked at as a teen. Get a call from the hospital. I'm dad's emergency contact. My dad was shot in a robbery. He's still conscious. Tells me to look in the desk of his office, the key will be in my mother's case. He passes out. Dies in surgery. I look into his study and there's my name on a drawer in the study. Only thing in it is a flash drive and a key with a tag showing a string of numbers. Play file on flash drive. Dad gives his will. Wants his ashes to be mixed with the remainder of my mom's and for them to be turned into a diamond. Tells me key is to a safety deposit box. Go to location and get access to the box. Holy shit, that's a lot of money. A slip of paper tells me that this should be enough. I follow through with dad's wishes and made the diamond. It's small and brown. Get diamond inserted into a ring. Get ring engraved to say forever. Tomorrow's my dad's anniversary and I just proposed to my girlfriend. Told her the significance of the ring I just offered her. She said yes. We live in my dad's house now. I listened to my mother's vinyl for the first time, and it was her singing Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra. Fiancé heard it and said we should play it at the wedding. My heart when my parents will be at my wedding.
I used to remember when I was a kid, like 6 or 7, and my mom would wake up at 4 in the morning just to hide 100 eggs strategically in the backyard. It was one of my more favorite holidays, so waking up at 6 to ecstatically run down the stairs, grabbing the basket my mom got me, and finding eggs was no problem for me. Each egg would have $1 candy, but sometimes a little cute note. I dunno. I never liked the notes because it wasn't candy or money. Then I would spend the day eating candy, watching TV, and laying around while my mom cleaned up and made Easter dinner. This went on for a few years until one year, I just did not want to do it. It was angsty teenage years that got to me. I'm too old for this, Mom. I said as I woke up at 9 p.m. looking outside at the scattered eggs. I picked them up in a garbage bag and left them on the table. I told her I didn't want to do Easter anymore. The next year, around January, she got into an accident. She was mangled up and barely lasted the ambulance ride. I lost her that night and I was fucking devastated. Few years after, I was moping around the yard, cleaning a bit, when I stumbled upon an old blue egg. I dreaded what was inside. Sure enough, it was a note. I broke down and cried. Like I was 6.
Well, I was going through my deceased dad's things today. Shifting through some of his old boxes, trying to find some rare Spider-Man comics that he saved up for eBay use later. Stumbled on his original Game Boy that he played a lot on. It had Pokémon Blue in it. I thought, why the hell not? And started up. Continued from my dad's old save, I checked out his items and then his Pokémon. His team was terrible, a Zubat, Eradicate, a Beedrill. But his Blastoise was named after me. I cried.